Here I am again with another marvelous collection. If you stay to the end, I'll show you which of these two are worth a buck. Now, the way it works is like this. Back in the days, everybody remembers, especially in the 1970s, when you wanted to come home and watch films, you would come home and you would be watching your Super 8mm black and white or color, usually silent. If you're rich enough or your parents had enough money, they would buy a sound projector. Very rare. Out of 10 kids, maybe one might have had a sound projector. So anyway, over the years, I have, built my collection of movies. These are some of the movies I hold. And if you stay to the end, I'll show you probably one of the most expensive ones that I have. Now, the way it would work is when you had a movie like this, you would have canisters like this where you place them in. And there's one inside actually right now. And then you would press this lever down, wherever the movie was located, right here. And it would come down. But anyway, here we go. Let's start my collection. The first movie I have is Oswald the Rabbit. Now, anybody that remembers Bugs Bunny, of course, Oswald the Rabbit was a little bit earlier than that. And if you could see there, this is a Castle film, which made all the films back in the time. And this Castle film is, I believe this is 8mm. Yep, says soft whip, 8mm, okay? Oswald the Rabbit. Then I have a famous film that a lot of people are aware of, and this is The Night Before Christmas. And believe it or not, this is what they call the headline edition. Interesting. So this, I think, was like a special edition. Now, judging from it, this particular film is 35mm because it's a thicker film. And a lot of people say, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is, even though this here, it's an older film. You could see that it has two sides where it has holes in it. Originally, this, I think, I could be wrong here. This either 16mm or 35mm. Now, the other films like this one, which are like Oswald the Rabbit, they're 8mm. The difference between this and this one in particular has the difference between that and a Super 8 film, which is this one, is that the Super 8 actually has smaller holes here in the beginning here, and the 8mm has slightly larger holes. The most important thing you have to do, if you have an old projector, if you turn right there to the side, you'll see there's an old projector right here. That's an 8mm silent. You have to make sure you play it in the right projector, because if you have a Super 8 film and you put it onto an 8mm, it's gonna go make the sound like tick, 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 and what it's doing, it's just making holes and making them larger, so you ruin your film. Don't do that. You have 8mm, Super 8, 8 regular. 8 regular and 8mm actually can use the same projector, but there is a slight difference, I believe, in the size of the film. Now, going back to the collection here so that you guys get an idea of what films I do have. And like I said, there was nothing better than going home, sitting down with the family at the end of the day, and trying to, set up the projector and watching films. The funny thing is that the average watch time for any of these films was maybe 5 to 7 minutes. These are the 50-footers, which are about 3 to 4 minutes actually. And you have the 200-footers, which, if I remember, I'm just making sure on this, because anyway, the 200 films, this is also an 8mm actually, it says here, but it's a Super 8 though. You see how they put Super 8? It says in the back of the thing here, 8mm films, but it's actually Super 8. Now this is The Prince and the Dragon. This is an old Walt Disney film, but it's just a nice little film here. So we have here Oswald the Rabbit. I'm showing you guys the cheaper film. Over here we have The Monster from Under the Sea. This is Super 8mm. Another classic, right? Now remember, all these films, 80% of them were in black and white. They had no sound, so when you watched it, sometimes they would put words in them or they wouldn't. And so over here we got, I showed you guys The Night Before Christmas. So now this film, I'm sorry, it is 16mm. I was saying 35. 35, I knew it was kind of thicker, so I wasn't 100% sure, but it is 16mm. The reason it had double the threads is because the film is so wide. But anyway, this is a 16mm. If I'm correct, there's a good chance that this has sound. The way of knowing that, you would have to look at the film. It's so old, I wouldn't be able to tell right now anyway. But then I have here some of the more popular films, which are Abbott and Costello, Half Badge Will Chase, it says. And this is one of the classics, Abbott and Costello. And in the back, it would say that if you would, send in for the film, you would get a 300 selection. This is Abbott and Costello. So now I got one Abbott and Costello. I got Abbott and Costello commercials. Oh, no, I'm sorry, comedies. That's my other Abbott and Costello film. Again, this one is 8mm. So this film's, you can see some of them have different canisters, but when you look at the film, the older films in particular, you could see, again, you got to be careful because a lot of these old films, when you play them, there's a good chance you are going to burn them or they're going to crack because time takes its toll on them. If you guys look at this and take a close look over here, you'll see that there's burnt. Now, the cause for this is two reasons. One, if you could see that the holes are, they might have put this in a different projector. Like this looks like it was 8mm, and I think they put it, or they left it too long with the lamp. Another thing, you always have to get the film running. If the film stayed, like if you pause the film, within 30 seconds, it would burn right through. So you could not ever, you could do it just real quick and say, hey, look, I'm going to pause the film. But the projectors used to get so hot, especially the lamps, that this is the result of that. So you could see this because normally they have in the end of the film, they have an area where it's an extra area so you can tread the film through the projector. Well, in this particular thing here, what you could see is that area was cut off or it broke off, and then they're trying to do the part of the film. And unfortunately, I see that this happened most of the beginning of the film here. In fact, it's throughout the film, it's been burnt. So this film actually might be a nice thing to have with the box, but it might not even work. Maybe the center of it might be working, but this film is in pretty bad condition. But anyway, it's in part of my collection here. Now I got here some of the, here's another one actually. This is called Kitty Mooy's Charles Chaplin, and it's called The Property Man, and this is an old 8mm. And then this is Atlas Films. So this goes way back more than Castle Films. So this is, I think this is either the same time or prior. So we have Charles Chaplin. Here we have now the more popular ones, The Mummy's Ghost. Okay, so now we have the fun ones. The Mummy's Ghost. I did show you The Prince and the Dragon. Okay, this is a 200 feet film. We have an old film here, Super 8 with Al Capone. Okay, now this is Ken Films. This is another famous company that made films in the time. And this particular Castle Films, like this one or this, you would buy in Famous Monsters of Filmland. They always, would advertise in the back that you could buy 200 film. Here's another Abbott and Costello, and it's Riot on Ice. Now, this particular film here, I can see is also another 16mm. Yeah, this is 16mm. Again, now there's something particularly interesting in this particular film. It's 16mm, but I believe this film has sound. And for some reason, it only has one treading here. It doesn't have the two. So this is something that I actually didn't even realize. See, it has only one treading. The one with the Night Before Christmas has double. But in this side, I think this black area in the right side is the sound. Over here, actually. It's my left side, your right side. This thing is where I think the sound went. Now, I have to do a little more research in this because growing up, I only had in my possession Super 8 films. I had an 8mm projector, but it was kind of, I wasn't really using it too much. The 8mm projector that I had as a kid is the one I ordered in the comic book that was battery operated. And, when you play the film in it, it was pretty bad. But this is a pretty old film right here, and it's a Castle film. Again, 16mm. Okay, here we go to another Super 8 film, Rodan the Flying Monster. Of course, everybody has seen this particular film. Then we have Ghidra, the three-headed monster. Look at this film. And this particular film is a Ken film. So I guess these three companies, Ken Films did a lot of the monsters, and Castle Film was also very popular. I have to do a little more research because I loved watching films. Super 8 film, I always look forward to playing with the family. I thought it was so cool. It was such a great experience to turn off the lights, put on a sheet, It brought a lot of memories. And it's funny because I have hooked up right now, right before closing, I'm going to play one of the films that I was able to tread in this projector that probably goes back, I guess, the late 50s, because it's 8mm, it's silent, but the shape of it and stuff tells me that it's a much earlier projector. And shocking as it may sound, I took it out of my storage facility and the light works. What are the chances of getting a projector in perfect working condition? That was shocking. Over here we have one of the good ones, which is Frankenstein Meets the Space Monster. Now this one, it says 8mm on it, but I think it has a sticker here, which I believe the sticker is Super 8. So this was also a Ken film. And oh, and look at this. This one had, which is kind of rare, one of the catalogs inside. I didn't even know I had this. So that you can buy the films that would be available. This is something look at this. And this is phenomenal. Has Warner Brothers, Terry Bears, Heckle and Jekyll. This is a nice special bonus that I just found that I didn't know was inside this. And again, you see how the films, they used to put a little rubber band around because they always unwound. Now this is Super 8. It's got the giant center. Think of it like a 45, 33 RPM record. The 45s, you have to use an adapter. Sometimes this projector, there's some projectors that can do both 8mm and Super 8. It's more regular 8 and 8mm. I don't quite remember. I think I had one that could do the, both, but you had to put adapters on it. So over here, what I'm doing, what it was very popular to do is, and as you could see, there's always emptiness in the front of the film. I don't know if it can be seen there. And this is the piece that you thread into the projector. Now, my later projectors, I had a Bell & Howell, which I still have about 6 of them, believe it or not. One of those projectors was kind of self-threading. You introduce the film and it will just go through the process. This one here took me about 25 minutes to figure it out. But this is a big plus. I'm going to put it on the side here because that's something that you want to probably copy. And so this is Frankenstein and the Space Monster. I'm going to put it here to know where, on top of the canister, to know where that can. So over here we got Ghidra. Oh, another catalog in Ghidra. Really? Wow, this is really cool, man. Interesting. Ghidra has also another. So there's probably a couple of them that have it. I'm going to put it to the side here because now I'm wondering how many of them have it. This one doesn't have it. Okay, so going on, we have Superman, the movie. Now, my brother's a fanatic of this Superman. He grew up with it, and it says Dolby Stereo, of course, but that's the movie. I think this is just a silent film. It is Super 8. I'm going to try to open it. It is Super 8, and by judging from it, this one actually has sound. Take a look at this. You see the black over here on the right? That's where the recording is. And here's where the threads are. So the black part is actually what plays the sound. So this is actually a sound film of Superman, the movie, with Christopher Reeves, not George Reeves, Christopher. So we're putting that there. Oh my gosh, the Mighty Mouse, Ken films. They're okay. I mean, everybody likes Mighty Mouse, if you remember the cartoon every day. And wow, another surprise. But this is not a catalog, this is a flyer. It says, coming available, all 5 Planet of the Apes. So this is kind of, oh yeah, you could get Konga and Frankenstein Conquers the World. Look at this. This are beautiful things that bring back a lot of memories. Now, this is a surprise for me too, because I didn't realize that they had catalogs and stuff in them. Okay, over here we have another classic, Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is a really nice film. This particular film is, again, doesn't have anything. It's falling off the thing here. You take it off. It's got now this is a silent film. You can see the difference in silent. It doesn't have the black line right there. The black line means it's like a record, it's a recording. So when it plays through the projector, it makes the sound. Okay, so that is, look at this. Look how this film back in the day. And you know what's kind of surprising? People said that films couldn't last so long and stuff. These films are about 50 or 60 years old. And they're still actually playable. I actually put one, and I'm surprised that I'll play it before the end, but it's playable. Now, of course, I picked Charles Chaplin, because I'm not going to take a chance with the more expensive films. Frankenstein's New Brain. Okay, this is another Castle film, and it says ask for your free catalog, and in the back it shows a couple of interesting movies that would be available. But opening this one, another catalog, Paramount, the best in home movies. Oh my gosh, am I gonna have to take out my printer and print out all the sheets? This one here in particular, is really nice. Look at this catalog here, see? And then look at the back of it. Now, this is a really nice catalog. So I'm going to put this to the side here because, and I'll have to put, because I have to make sure they go back, but I have to. Now, this particular Frankenstein's New Brain, you have Bela Lugosi in it. It says here, Lon Chaney Jr. And everybody knows Lon Chaney Jr. is obviously the Wolfman, the son of the famous Ron Chaney. I'll put that film there. Over here, we have a film that a lot of people remember. It says, it came from outer space. A lot of people kind of think this movie, because of the way the flying saucer are, they think it's Earth versus the flying saucer. It kind of has the same layout. It's a Castle film. Now, it's kind of interesting because it says 8mm or 16mm sound projector silent. I guess what it says here kind of could confuse you, because you could think that this can play in both. No, it can't. By looking at it, this film is definitely, somebody played it too much. They cut off the front of it. So if you could see there, it doesn't have a leader, the part of the leader to put it in the thing. And by judging, the film is in pretty good, decent quality, but it's sticking. So there's you got to be careful because they break very easy. And I'm thinking time and stuff might have deteriorated the film a little bit. This, what you could do is actually take it out, roll it in one of those things. Be very careful with it and see, because the film is very old. So you want to make sure it doesn't crack on you or whatever. Although you can always fix that, but it's old. It gets, the emulsion of the film gets old, the color in the film. Now this one doesn't have, I don't think it has sound. No, this is silent. So we're looking at a black and white, silent, Super 8 200 feet film, which it's a shame because I have to look into this one to try to restore as much as I can of it, because you could see that it's sticky. It's kind of not in the great condition you want it to be. Oh, here we got Boris Karloff in The Mummy. Look at this film. This is basically, it says in the back, okay, Jumbo Cartoon. Okay, no, this is 8mm, and it's Walt Disney Home Movies. But it is a Castle film. So again, this one here, oh gosh, the people, they just destroyed this one. You can see again, they played it a lot. It's got a couple of creases. The film is in really good condition though. By touching it here, I can tell it's dust-free. It's, now I obtained this movies way back, probably, 40 years ago, of a collector. I don't remember where I got them, so I wasn't the original owner. I do have some of them that were originally mine, but unfortunately, this group that I have here with these 3 canisters and the projector, I just came across it in my my storage. Now here we have Walt Disney's attraction highlights. Now what's cool about this, it has the Haunted Mansion and other thing, but because this is a really old film, it's kind of really cool. So this is Walt Disney Says Home Movies. I think it's transfer. This does not have, it looks like it's Super 8, unfortunately. Yeah, it is. It says silent, and it runs for 10.6 minutes. I can guarantee you one thing about this 200 feet films. I don't think they run for 10 minutes. I don't remember actually ever getting 10 minutes out of one, but this one looks like it's in pretty good condition. And this is funny. It actually has the the name of the person that owned this was Julie Ball. She lived in Michigan. So, I mean, she kept a good thing with the film here. The front is still actually, see how it says, that's the thing. So this are the films. You ever seen when you see an old film, you see the letters and the numbers pop up? This one here, I'm kind of surprised, is in really, really good condition. I would love to play it here. I would like to look at it, but unfortunately I can't because it's Super 8 and I don't want to take a chance that it will get destroyed there. So I'll put it here. This one is actually sealed in its original package still, and this is none other than Riot on Ice with Abbott and Costello. Very, very phenomenal photograph. Okay, this one is sealed. Still has the original plastic. It says Super 8 Complete Edition. Of course, and here we have another Abbott and Costello commercials. Now the difference between this and the other one is that this is a bigger version of the smaller one that I showed here before, which, what I keep saying commercials is comedies. Sorry, I'm looking at it real quick and I'm not reading. It's a Castle film. This one, by judging the box, it's the condition is very interesting. This condition is more older. It feels a little more fragile, more like dried out. I don't know. Again, these films, you have to be careful. You're playing. There's a good chance they're gonna break. So if you're a collector, the best thing you do is just collect them. Now, this one there, I just put there because here we have another one called Scream's Greatest Screamfest, The Revenge of Frankenstein. Okay, in the back you can see Mr. Magoo, Top Cat, some westerns, The Three Stooges. These are all the films that was in out. I thought it was The Revenge of the Creature. Oh, this one also, please note, it has the beginning of each film must be trimmed as per projector's manufacturer's instructions. Before each projection of the film, failure to do so can cause sprocket damage, which is not a defect, not covered by our warranty. So they warn you here. And here, this is funny. This, instead of them sending you like they send you little inserts here about movies that you can buy from Columbia Pictures. Okay, so this one here is a film with a warning, and it's from the Film Library. And of course, everything is from New York City. In 115 West 31st Street, New York, where this film called The Revenge of Frankenstein. Then we have here The Adventures of Batman. Okay. Very interesting film here. Super 8, 200 millimeter. Again, I'm not even going to get into it, but you could see that the box looks pretty decent, but I have the feeling the thing has a couple of age issues. Wow. This is one that I had no idea I had. Magoo, Mr. Magoo meets Frankenstein. This is a classic, man. I got to be honest with you. This is probably, I don't know, mid-50s. And by judging from the film, it's Super 8. It's in okay condition. You see the front, how it's all twisted and turned? This is because when they try to feed it through the projector, they had the wrong projector, they just fed it wrong. And you can see the beginning of the film is already destroyed. But the film, when you go further, it still has a couple of bends. I think, and not only, the other thing that's kind of interesting is that the film itself doesn't fit that well. And the reason it doesn't fit is because if you see that it kind of squashed the reel a little bit. So what I would do, the first thing I do is I would take this film, take it out of this wheel and put it in one that fits better and preserve the film. Pass it on to MP3 or whatever you could do. Not MP3, you know what I'm saying, when they do the movie thing like for YouTube, digitally remastered, whatever. But Magoo meets Frankenstein. This is a classic. I have to look up the value of this because I have no idea. This is a really old film that I gotta be honest, I've never heard of it. And I grew up watching Mr. Magoo. So we have here Boris Karloff meets The Mummy, a Castle film. Okay. Which I gotta make sure because I'm putting them all over the place here. This is science fiction. We went over that. Here we have Abbott and Costello meets Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The film seems to be decent. It's Super 8. We have here, I guess I went over this, a Mighty Mouse, Prince and the Dragon. I'm showing some of the ones that I kind of already went over. So here we have Popeye. This is says Super 8 in the Indian Fighter. Okay. Now this film seems to be okay, decent. We have here 20 million miles to Earth. This box is in bad condition. But the film is, this one says home 8mm. So judging from the thing is, oh gosh, my gosh. One thing that I hate is when people, I guess whoever did this did it probably back then. We're not going to say they did it now, but this film here is old. You can tell the condition, but look how this is. This is all destroyed. It has the leader, but if it doesn't fit in your projector, look at this. You see when it has this accordion feature? This is because this film did not fit in the projector that were trying it. They just pushed it through however it went, and then they realized, because back here the film looks normal. So the first part of the thing is mutilated. I'm going to try to take all these films, because it would be great to find a projector that could play them, be very careful with them, and transfer them to digital. But this is 20 million miles to Earth. This one here is Son of Kong. This is a very popular. You always saw this in famous Monsters of Filmland. The back, like in the back covers, the Captain Company, you could always see. This film here is 8mm. This is 8mm, 200 feet. Again, you see in the 8mm how the holes are actually so big you can actually see them. In the Super 8, they tend to be smaller. I thought Super 8, but 8mm is bigger. So this film is in pretty decent condition. I mean, it's an older film because 8mm came before Super 8. So, I mean, it will be like VHS and Betamax. I don't really remember what the difference was, but then again, it's been. Now this one here is called The Man-Made Monster, Lon Chaney Jr. That this is interesting because this one is in a plastic box. Okay, so this one I'm thinking, whatever the reason, wow, this is really cool. This is a Super Universal 8 film. So it says running time. Here's the thing, right? This one, it says the running time is 8 minutes and 15 seconds. The same 200 feet film in another one said 10 point something. In reality, you get between 8 and 10 minutes. You're never going to get 10 minutes out of 200 film. And this one here, the front part of it is look like they cut off a little. So you're not going to get the film in the beginning when it plays. Obviously, it's black and white. It's silent. I'm looking at it right now. But what I found really interesting about this is that it's plastic. It's a plastic box. I mean, I wish this probably has a long longevity. Look at this, guys. Guys, remember Evel Knievel? Here's a 200 Super 8 film, Evel Knievel. Now, I know Super 8 became more popular than 8mm. So in the 70s, Super 8 was the standout, projector. Like almost everything you bought was Super 8. 8mm. The only 8mm projectors you got were from Honor House that you could send away. And also Johnson Smith used to sell them. Back then it was like $29 in Johnson Smith. Who in the world could afford $29 in the 70s, man? I mean, not a kid. Here we got, this is obviously Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, but it just says Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I saw a tape there that was covering. This is a Castle film. It's again saying ask for your catalog. It doesn't have catalog. But unlike the other films, this film actually, they wrote Abbott and Costello Meet on the thing itself. See how it says it's kind of engraved there with a pen. But this one has the white part. This white part is supposed to be the one that comes so that you can put it and you don't mess up the film. So this film right here, well, about 200 feet, I can tell you right now, it's in a 200 feet roll, but it's already, look how much space you have. It's not full. So that's probably what you're getting, I don't know, it doesn't say running time, but it's probably like 7-8 minutes, whatever. And this film was actually from the Belmont Memorial Library in Boston. Okay? Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Going forward, we have 1 million BC. If we're correct, this is the film. This is not the one Raquel Welch was in. I don't remember. This wouldn't be the one with Raquel Welch. But anyway, this is 8mm. Raquel Welch did one that's very famous. Right now I have a mental block on it, but the poor thing just recently died, if you people know. And a lot of people say, who's Raquel? Raquel Welch was, I would say, be her and Marilyn Monroe. They were probably the biggest thing back in the 50s and 60s. But anyway, this one is 1 million BC. Doesn't have any names here and stuff, so I'm assuming. Like I said, I don't know if that's the one Raquel. I think Raquel did 20,000 something. I forgot right now. But anyway, man-made monster. Okay, high-powered. In fact, I thought I had read this film before. Down here, a similar one, but it might have been a smaller one. I was looking because it was a man-made monster. But this again is a thriller. It's one of those B movies from the 50s and 60s. It's definitely not Super 8. It's 8 millimeter. Let me see. No, this is Super 8 again. I can tell it's Super 8 because look how tiny. The one that I showed you guys before had the little holes. These holes are so tiny you cannot make out the difference. The 8 millimeter, you always see the bigger hole. So this is definitely Super 8 silent. So see how it unrolls? You got to be very careful. You got to kind of and be careful that it doesn't crack, because what I'm doing here, some people that are movie collectors will go, oh my God, he's touching the film. You got to touch it. You can't you can't unroll it or whatever. But this film here needs to be tightened a little because it's like coming out. But anyway, it's in pretty good condition. It's a Super 8. It's obviously, like I just said, Super 8 was more like in the 70s. So Super 8 will always be a little newer than the original 8 millimeter films. Battle of the Giants. Okay, this is another Castle film. It says here you get a free roll of film if you send the last 4 inches of the film title coupon. Oh, that's something. So back here it says you would get a free roll of film if you take at the end, when this film finishes, there should be a little piece that says free coupon. You have to mail it in. Isn't that something? Never heard that one before, but being a mail order person like I am, I always love those little tidbits. But anyway, it's a Ken film, and you had to send, it says send the last 4 inches of the film coupon with 9 rolls from 9 rolls of any Ken film. So get a load of this with 25 cents in coin or stamps to cover cost of mailing and handling. So here's what you got to do. You got to get 9 films. You got to watch them, and you got to cut off the coupon 9 films, and make sure you send in your 25 cents. Wow. I doubted anybody actually went through that problem. Okay, here we have, I already showed Al Capone. We have here The Mummy's Ghost, Rodin, which I showed. We are getting now to the nice one. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Now, unfortunately, the box is in decent condition. The artwork is okay, but look at the box. The film, I am shocked, has the end to it, the white end. It is not abused. It feels soft. This is very playable, man. So this is a Super 8, 200 feet. It's definitely silent. There's no sound on it. So you have a silent where the monster goes and you see nothing. You just got your imagination. Now this box, unfortunately, is in crappy condition. I don't know. It feels like moisture or something. Maybe they put a bunch of stuff on top of it, but those are things I need to fix or somehow. Now this is an interesting. This is an Abbott and Costello in Riots on Ice. This film is definitely 16 millimeter. It's made by Burley's Carton Company in Paterson, New Jersey. I don't think that's the film. I think it's a Castle film, but that must be the company that made the box. Now this one here is again 16 millimeter with sound. So this one has sound. And now there's an interesting part about this particular film. You can see the sound on the left. When it's silent, it's going to have, I think, double holes. It's got the sound on the left, the big, 16 millimeter holes on the right. Here's the best part. This is made of steel. So this is a steel film canister. I like that. And, like I said, this is very old. Abbott and Costello. Now, you guys could imagine what type of allergies I'm going to get with all this dust that I'm playing around here. Anyway, guys, I'm going to show you now what probably is the most expensive films I probably have. I seen them do pretty good on. Well, one of them. Who doesn't know about the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi? Okay, now, so that you know how expensive these films were. This one here has a price of $8. Now I don't know, and it's a Super 8mm sound. Now when it says Super 8, it still means 8mm, but Super 8mm. And this one overall is okay. It still has the tip, so that's good. It does look like it's in very good condition. It does have sound. You can see there the darkened area to the left where the sound is. You can actually see it right here in the... So this film is something I would love to actually watch, because this is probably about 10 minutes long, and it's in really good condition. Now this is sound film, Bela Lugosi. You probably bought this for, it says here $8, but I think that's like a secondary market, whatever. This film was probably a little more than that, like $10.99 or something. But this is the Dracula film. Now the other film I have, it's the same Dracula film in 50 feet version. Now this film is, when I open it's a Castle film, and it is, okay, this one is still in good condition. Look at this, it has the beginning, it's definitely, now this one is 8mm. Again, let me show you guys. You see the giant holes in the 8mm? You can tell between Super 8 and 8mm, you can tell because of one reason. It has the bigger holes. But if you guys think I'm going to play this in this projector, you're crazy. It's a Dracula. I'm not going to take a chance that this film will crack or break, but I'm tempted to. I'm tempted to play that. Now, the other one is House of Frankenstein with Boris Karloff. Okay, this is also an 8mm. These are the ones that you mostly saw, like I said, in Famous Monsters. This one is also in very good condition. And again, I would buy on Amazon an 8mm projector, an updated one or something, before I try putting in a projector that goes back 60 years a film like this. You don't want that to happen. So far, I put a Charles Chaplin, nothing happened. But you don't want to take a chance in a film like this one, which it probably is worth about $40, $50 on eBay. It's not something you want to play with. Then I have two films here that are probably the most expensive ones here. One of them is in Super 8 color, 50-foot reel, the original Haunted Mansion in 50 feet film. Now this film is one, it seems to be in really good condition. Okay, there are some bends there. That means that somebody tried to play it and it crumpled up in the projector, but it's, other than that, look, you still have a lot of blank area before the film starts. This is beautiful. This is actually a film that, forget about 50 foot. Wow, what's going on here? There you go. Look at this. This film has 45 feet and 5 feet of blank space. So this is nice because this film actually allows you to play around and making sure that it's fed correctly before you keep playing. And if you break off several parts in the beginning, you can still smile because your film is in good condition. You don't want that to happen. This, who cares? This is just extra filmage. But you don't want that to happen when you get now. This film here is one of my prized possessions because I love the Haunted Mansion. And about a year or two ago, I went down there with my grandkids and my daughter and her husband. And I actually went in less than an hour, so I went 7 times into the Haunted Mansion. We'd come out, there was no line, go back in, come out. And I memorized the thing. I love the Haunted Mansion. And what introduced me to the love of the Haunted Mansion was the famous Lakeside Haunted Mansion game from the 70s. And I always dreamed of going to the Haunted Mansion when I had a chance, but obviously I went when I was like 50. And here is my favorite film of all times, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Guys, this film is, and I'm going to open it for the first time here, praying that it's good. The film is solid, man. The film has the corner where, of course, they broke some of it off, but it has enough space. Yep, you see all the wordings here. All this is just the beginning of the film. The film is soft. It's definitely 8mm. And then it says Abbott. I could see already the thing where it says, I don't know if you can get close enough. You could see Abbott and Costello, the name there. I can. But anyway, It's in great condition. It's probably the most expensive one I have in the whole collection here. So now as I leave, I want to show you guys real quick what it's like to turn out the lights and start playing a film like the old days. Now I will get up. Stop it a second. You turn on the projector, the sound of the motor, and then, lo and behold, the film like I grew up and all of us grew up with, Charles Chaplin. Now, it is a little shaky. Do understand, it's a 60-year-old projector. You have the dust there that looks on the side like that huge thing, which is probably some piece of dust inside the projector. But that's Charles Chaplin. And this is what us, or most of the people that follow my channel, remember. When they came home after school and the lights went out, you were able to watch a film from the past. Enjoy. And then you'll hear as it goes to the end, you'll hear when the movie runs out, and you'll get the famous tack, 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 which means it's finished. So as you can see, I will play. Now this is a 50-foot film that started from the beginning, and so far I think we've got like 30 seconds and it looks like it's halfway through already. Again, that tells you that that's how much time we really had at the time. And I hope you guys are enjoying this. I know the video might be a little longer, but you can give justice. You can do a good review justice. You can give a good review justice unless you let them know. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to play around, see if the final thing of the film can be a little better. But that is the Charles Chaplin 1968 film. 1950s. I'm saying 1968. I don't know where I came with that date right now, but now, did you guys notice he was holding a cell phone? Only kidding. A few more seconds. Again, guys, we're playing this on a projector that the smell of burnt is coming through the back right now. But I don't think it's because anything is burning. I think it's just the age of the projector. And to my shock, with a working light bulb. That's insane. This was in my storage. I didn't even know I had this. But there we go. Look, that happens. The end of the film comes and hasta la vista, baby. No more film. And now the projector spins eternally until you stop it. By first thing you do is, and guys, this is important, you knock off the light and you keep the fan running because you want it to cool down. You never turn a projector's fan off until like 3 or 5 minutes later so it cools off. Thank you, till next time.